Good morning. Welcome back, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. One second. All right. Morning, guys. Buenos dias. Yeah, some big news today. Definitely on the economic side. Earnings on Google, AMD. Nice inverse head and shoulder playing out on Google. Man, beautiful on that. AMD still a shitter. Advanced Money Destroyer is the new name, huh? Yeah, AMD seemingly just still not getting it. So that is possibly something to stay away from. Pop and fades continue to be the play there. Some interesting, something's strong, something's weak today. It's something that's sort of interesting. It's the semiconductors sort of on the weak side. But then the big cap tech is just ripping. I mean, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon after hours due to Google ripping. Microsoft up huge. Meta is just a monster. But then you have a little bit of weakness on the semis. So it's an interesting day here. We got to see which side, do we flip on the semis? Do we come back higher in the semis? Do they find that strength again? Does some of that maybe money from AMD flow into Nvidia, the big one? I don't know. We're going to have to see how that plays out today. That's sort of something that I'm very focused on. I would love to see some pullbacks on those big cap tech, the major ones, to get a new entry point. But those things are ripping in the pre-market, so we're going to have to see if we can get some kind of a pullback. That's really the key. Very clear divergence from NASDAQ to S&P 500 as well. A little bit stronger on the NASDAQ this morning for, obvious reasons. Big cap tech moving higher. And really the NASDAQ just catching up to the S&P because the S&P 500 is at that all-time high, but the NASDAQ's not quite there yet, but getting very close. So a very mixed bag today. Mixed bag, right? A mixed bag across the board. We're going to have to see what stays hot and what stays weak. As of right now, it still looks like Tesla is one that's, still under a little bit of pressure. Obviously the semis under pressure. But then you got, the Microsoft, the Google, the Meta, just those ones really strong. So, yeah, we'll go through that all today. I'll show you guys and sort of visualize it on the charts. And then on top of all that, we got more earnings and we got more economic data. So, another big day. Good profit. Yeah, I mean, Brandon, I was always going to play something through, but great profit. I mean, AMD provided a beautiful run up into earnings, but that was nothing but a little bit of a profit taking opportunity. Google should be nice. Google beat the expected move, so that will look good. Hopefully, if it opens where it currently is. So yeah, that's the moral of the story. Let's get started. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and here we go. So, economic data. This is today. Today is Wednesday. You got ADP at 8:15. You got and the GDP. You got ADP at 8:15 and GDP at 8:30. So let's see how this morning either continues or flips back lower, right? Because of this data. 8:15 and 8:30 today. Home sales 10 o'clock. Oil inventories 10:30. Okay, so that's today. Tomorrow, PCE, employment cost index, unemployment claims, and we close the week with some more jobs data and manufacturing PMI. So right now, today, what we're going to be watching here in the pre-market is right there. ADP non-farm employment change and the GDP. Okay? So that's that. On the earnings side, yesterday we had Google and AMD, which is very nice. Google, AMD, Google facilitating, the strength on the tech stocks, on the big cap tech. AMD keeping the semiconductors on the weak side. So right here, you can see AMD and Alphabet and Google, right? Google up, AMD down. So the semis are weak because of this today, and some of these large cap tech stocks are flying because of Google. This morning, we had Eli Lilly, which actually reported negatively. That was down quite a bit. And then after hours today, it gets bigger and bigger as the days go on, right? This is an even bigger day. Microsoft and Meta, huge, huge, huge. A lot of positivity around Meta, man. It begs the question, can Meta keep going higher on earnings? It's going to be really tough to trade this with options, guys. The IV is insanely high. So I'm probably something I stay away from, but Meta is an absolute monster of a stock. This is the biggest miss for me in terms of the long-term portfolio. I do not have Meta shares. Oh, man. What a move that thing has had. Microsoft, also a big name, sort of a catch-up name, really, and a big move overnight on this one. So something to watch there on earnings as well. Coinbase, Robinhood tonight, Etsy, Carvana, which has been a crazy stock to the upside. That'll be a very interesting earnings, Carvana. Tomorrow morning, Uber, Peloton, MasterCard, Merck, Altria, some healthcare there. And then a big boy after hours tomorrow, Amazon and Apple and Intel. All right. So that's that. Let's go ahead and take a look at sort of the overnight moves here. We'll take a quick peek at, let's just start on the NASDAQ, and then we'll jump into the ES like we usually do, and then we'll get into these individual stocks. So today on the NASDAQ futures, first of all, what a beautiful hold at our 470 level yesterday. This was our gap fill long. That's exactly what the NASDAQ did all day, just straight up off that gap fill long. That is a beautiful sight off that 470, that 20 SMA continuing to support this market higher. Today, there's some key levels that you want to see hold. The number one level is 680. You'd really like to see the previous highs right here at 680, and that 680 hold as a new low. This would be very key. If you see these previous major highs on the NASDAQ futures hold as a new low, then that would be very key for the markets to maintain higher. This would be a very key break and retest long. This is definitely something that the bulls would want to see hold. If we do fail below that 680, I would be very closely watching what happens at 600. 600 and 680 are your two major levels today. Yesterday, we saw reactions at both these levels. If we go to the 5-minute chart and we go to yesterday's action, you can see how these levels responded intraday. Right here, we had that 600 rejection early morning, which turned into support, which facilitated upside. We had the 680 rejection, which turned into support, and support, which facilitated upside. So today, if we come back down, right, to those levels, if we come back down to those levels right here, 680, right? If we come back there, do we see a hold at that level? If we break below that, we're likely to see some downside come in towards that 600, and then we're going to be watching to see what happens there, right? So those are the two levels. I would watch 20,680 very closely. I would watch 20,600. If we break under that 680 today, I would assume there's some downside volatility that you might be able to catch, maybe to make a, sort of retrace some of this straight up move. Very possible, right? If you run a sort of a fib here, it's very, common to see these retracements. Let's say you have, something like this on the fibs, 38.2 is at that 20,680, 20,600 is around that 61.8 retracement. So very common to see retracements after big straight up moves. That is very possible today. 20,680, 20,600. Those are the two levels. If we break under 600, I think all momentum is lost, okay? If we fail back under this 600, then I think you lose all momentum, and you probably trade right back down to yesterday's lows if you break under 600. So those are the levels to watch today for me. Very clearly, these highs, they have to hold to stay very aggressively bullish, right, into this pullback long. To the upside, the level that is rejecting for now, the level that we've known about is 20,800. If we go to the 4-hour chart, you guys can see right here, 4-hour chart, 20,800 was our next possible rejection spot, which is exactly what's happening, right? 20,800. And then above that, you have this 20,900. So pretty much the next 100-point moves would be the two levels to watch. 20,800, 20,900 are the next two levels to watch on the upside if we do continue to see upside continuation. So if we get above that 800, I think you see a move into that 900 right here. Above that 800, you get into the 900, and you're starting to get close to that all-time high, okay? 20,680, 20,600, 20,800, and 20,900. Those are my sort of zones to be watching today, okay? And if we fail back under this, then I think you move right back into yesterday's lows. QQQ. So this is the big level here today, guys. The 499,500. This has been the rejection spot that we've talked about for a few weeks now, really. We've been sort of stuck right under it. I'm going to go ahead and draw this out 1 second. So bring this all the way over. Got to bring this line all the way over. Extend that to the left. So we've been watching the rejections previously right here on the QQQ. Over the last week and a half, we have seen those failures at this 499 to 500 zone right here, right? We had those rejections previously that caused downside, and we've been sort of stuck trading below this 499 500 zone. If we go to today's, this recent price action, you can see failures here, keeping us lower. Now today, this is key, right? This is huge. This is the biggest thing to watch today. Can the NASDAQ, can the QQQ, can the QQQ ETF maintain above this huge level, right? This huge previous, all the way back at the previous all-time highs, and in the recent trend, the recent rejections, can we turn this into a low today? That is, without a doubt, the most important thing to be watching. If the QQQ can turn this into a low, then I would assume this facilitates, that continuation on the market. If we fail back under this and we start to turn this back into a rejection the same way we did here last week and on Monday, then that would be a reason to think that things could slide, okay, and sort of fail back under and start to see a little bit of weakness step in. So I will be laser focused on this zone today, making sure I understand what the price action is in this zone. What is it starting to show me? Am I seeing those buyers step up? Am I seeing selling taking over? Right? That is going to be everything today. If we fail back under that 499, if we fail back under that 500 area and start to reject, I think you trade back to the 497 and back to the possibly 494. Okay? This is going to be very, very major today. This is going to be the major level. This is everything. So watching this zone very closely today, huge zone. You can see yesterday we sort of grinded through it right here. See this? Yesterday on the 5-minute chart, we had those holds. We had those holds right here, previous rejections into holds, right? Previous fail into new lows on the intraday. Can that maintain today? That will be key. If we fail back under the 499, fail back under this low, that is where I think you get the weakness back into the 497. Okay? 497 still a huge level, right? But it would definitely make me think, a little bit of a failure move could come in. 497 still a huge level. We've been talking about that 497 all week. That was a very key reclaim yesterday and a very key break and hold above, which created that upside. I would still be interested in a 497 pullback. That would still be a good retracement of this move. It's not like, oh, here comes the end of the world. That's a nice 61.8% retracement. It's still a nice retracement back at the 497, but you would have to then at that point understand this right here, right? If we move down to the 497, we could retrace to that level, move back higher, but then we could start to see something like this, right? And that's what you don't want to start seeing if you want to see this market continue higher. If this market wants to continue higher, you cannot fail to get, to sort of hold or reclaim this 400 or this 499 to 500 zone again. That is a must-hold zone. Okay? Got a little bit of data here at 8:15. ADP Let's see how this reacts. Really not too much quite yet. A little bit of a pop off that 500 level there. Let's see. We'll give it a second just to see what happens here. But looks like the 500 level is helping some type of a hold higher here with this data. ADP non-farm employment change, 233 versus 110. Wow. Jeez. Okay. Big employment change, almost double the expectation. Huh. Right now, market just maintaining that 500. Not much movement there. A little bit of a maintain over 680. ES holding that 5870. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. So, very clear levels there on the Qs. The last thing I wanted to go over was the all-time high. All-time high is 505.21. So, we're about 5 points away from the all-time high on the QQQ. I would say if the Qs really defend this 500 today, and we really do see that buying step up there, I think you probably could see that all-time high get tested. That I think is a very strong possibility. It's about a eighth of a percent to the upside, to that 505. If you really step in here today and you see that retest hold come in very strong, that would really probably be the target. So that would be something to watch there. S&P 500. So S&P 500, while it technically is stall, a little bit of a stall versus the Qs there, because obviously tech is the hot spot for the moment. S&P still very close to those all-time highs, and I want to go ahead and show you once again the daily chart, and I want to once again show you the 20 SMA moves. So you can see here over the last few days, that 20 SMA continues and continues and continues to just hold this market higher. That 20 SMA still curling higher and still facilitating that hold, right? Still helping the market maintain the hold. Once again, yesterday, we saw an example of that. So right here yesterday, we talked about the gap fill and the 20 SMA. That is the exact level that ended up causing the S&P 500 to push higher, right? So once again, 20 SMA is such a big spot to be watching. Any kind of move down into that level continues to find the buying, right? 20 SMA, 20 SMA, 20 SMA, 5840. Big spot down there. Every time we come down to that level, we are seeing that very strong hold. So that's good for now. But there's some levels above on the ES which still concern me, and you're still seeing some pretty healthy rejections at that I think you need to be aware of, right? So number one, the 5885, this rejection from Monday of this week, and you can see this pre-market right now, 5885 failing, right? So this looks pretty heavy here at 5885. This looks like a level that you need to be careful of if you are long on this market. 5885, nice rejections. Keep an eye on that spot. Really, even above that, it looks like the 5900 is even heavier. All right, if we look above the 5885, take a look at this 5900 failure. Big failure there, big failure back on Friday of last week, and we have yet to sort of get close to that level again. So if we do see this market up again today, right, maybe off this 5870, you better be cautious of 5900, okay? If you see the markets trading near this level, I would make sure that you're de-risking, right? This is I made a video about this in the channel trading video, right? You got to de-risk into these heavy supplies. You can't just hope, oh, this is the one, right? This is the time it breaks out. Trust me, right? Trust me, bro. This is the one. We can't really trade like that. So if we do get along today and we do get some opportunity to the upside, I would still be a profit taker at 5,900. I'd make sure you de-risk into these moves because these failures are still there. 5,900 and, of course, the all-time high area around 5,915. The level that you really want to see hold today, if you are looking for upside on the ES, the level that I think you really want to see hold today is right around this 5870. Right here, 5870, 5870, 5870, 5870. And you can see if we go to the short-term time frames, there were some reactions here yesterday and in the pre-market, right here. You can see 5870 failures pre-market, 5870 failures intraday yesterday, and then 5870 holds, later in the day. So you can see right here, 5870, 5870, and 5870 was very important. You can see failure intraday, hold later on in the day, which helped that upside. So today, do we see that maintain? Do we see that maintain? If we do, then I think you could get that push back into 58.85 and possibly that 5,900. But if we fail below this, then you're sort of back in that dark hole, right? In my opinion, you fail back below that 58.70, feels like you're right back into this dark hole, which I just am not a big fan of, right? This zone down here is sort of iffy to me. It's just a channel, and I would probably, if you fail under 58.70, I really don't think I would long anything until you start getting close to this 20 SMA and maybe down towards that 58.40. This could be an interesting failure and an interesting short today. The only thing is, if you are short this, you do need to understand the bigger picture, right? A short under 70 today is just a scalp short. This is not a short looking for the break under the 20, the break under the 58.40, right? Because that is still the major, larger term hold area, okay? So 58.70, 58.40, 20 SMA right here at 58.50, and then, of course, the upside failure levels you need to be aware of. SPY. So the SPY seems to be in a little bit of a channel here today, and to me, that channel is right between like this 581 and this 585 all-time high. That looks to be where you'd like to see at least the SPY live within to stay bullish. You really don't want to see the SPY, in my opinion, fail back below this 581 spot. If you want to see this SPY try to, create a higher low and start to create this build higher. You can see on the SPY, if we go to the daily levels and we go to the daily chart, once again, right, look at the daily chart. This is what we've talked about for a long time now. That 20 SMA, right, facilitating that upside, the 20 SMA keeping us to the upside. So for now, this trend is still very, very apparent, right? See this little trend that's been going on? You get a push, you pull back, 20 SMA holds, you get another upside leg. You pull back, 20 SMA holds, you get another upside leg, right? So this is very clean still on the SPY. And if you want to trade with a little bit more patience and you don't want to be sweating on the nanosecond chart, then pay attention to what the daily chart's doing. This is still a very valid hold. It looks like a very clean sort of uptrending move here. You get your move, you get your ebbs and flows. This is exactly how the market trades, which I like how it's trading like this. I'd prefer it do this than go like this, okay? I'd prefer a market that's trending higher than just sort of going straight up, which results in something like that, right? So for now, I think this is a very healthy trend on the SPY. 20 SMA is the supporting, sort of low. Break and retest have been happening. Break and retest. Very nice. Looks great. However, you need to see some of these levels hold today, right? You got to continue to see the bulls battle this out because it's still a little bit grindy. It's really not as, it's grindy on a daily basis, really, right? So 20 SMA, 20 SMA, 20 SMA, 20 SMA, holding every single time, 579, 577. Today, it's about 581, in my opinion. I think that's a must hold. And then to the upside, you still got to get above 585. So SPY looks a little bit weaker than the NASDAQ today, and that's, obviously because of, I would say, Eli Lilly is definitely not helping the SPY today. The XLV, the healthcare sector, is really moving lower. I think that's one of the biggest weights right now on the SPY. I think, how are banks doing this morning? Banks are okay. A little bit of weakness there yesterday on JP Morgan, but yeah, it looks like, the SPY is getting a little bit affected by that healthcare sector, so a little bit weaker than the rest. But I would definitely watch what happens here at 581 today. If we go to the 5-minute chart, we can see, take a look at 581 yesterday on the intraday. 581 creating that hold and keeping us higher. So today, if you come back down to this level, this is a must hold in my eyes. Okay? IWM, staying pretty, stuck under this 223. But if you get above 223, which is why I have an alert right here, I think above 223, you rip very aggressively, in my opinion. This is a straight down move here on the IWM from Monday of last week. If you get above 223, I think this could be a little bit of a ripper. I would be watching what happens over 223 on IWM. For now, I think this is a great consolidation. It's a nice little hold above this 219, above this low at 216, little 20 SMA stepping up, but it's very clear that this 223 level needs to break. So I have an alert at 223. If I see the IWM break above that, I might get a little bit more interested. Dow Jones. Dow Jones has been under a little bit of pressure as well. I think this is another, sort of driving factors to some ES weakness versus the NASDAQ. The Dow Jones has been relatively weak in the last few weeks. You can see right here, major demand, 42,200. That is a must hold for the Dow. 42,200, 42,100. Look at these lows. You're coming back into these lows. You held it here. You got to hold it again. If you break under 42.1, that's sort of no bueno to me for the Dow. This zone right here. 50 SMA is supporting price action, so could this be a little double bottom low? Absolutely. Absolutely, that could be a double bottom low. I would be watching 42.2. I'd be watching 42.1. This could be a very nice little 50 SMA double bottom low that could be starting to set up. However, you still need to get some reclaims. 42.6 and 42.850 are very clearly the rejections that are coming in. So let's see, right? We got about 4 minutes till GDP, and that will probably show us a little bit of action, right, to see what the next move is here on the market. All right, 2,100 people here, 600 likes. If you guys could press that like button for me, press that like button. Espresso, honey, and cinnamon. Delicious. No sugar, just a little bit of honey. I know it has natural sugar, but I'd rather have that than some processed sugar. A little bit of cinnamon. Delicious. All right, press that like button. Subscribe. Let's get into Tesla. So, Tesla, still a little bit of pressure on this thing. I'm still long on Tesla. I still am interested in where this move pulls back to and where I think it will potentially set up the next long opportunity. But I think right now you got to stay on the lighter size, right? I would stay on the lighter size as you look for this thing to move lower. But I want to still try to find where that next hold is. And so for now, I'm still very focused on a few levels here. Number one, I really like this Friday low here. You guys can see right here, it's around that 255 spot. That was a very nice hold that came in yesterday, right? 255 right there, 255 right there. That was a very nice hold that came in yesterday that sort of helped Tesla maintain higher. Now, it does look to me like this 262 has become the major level that needs to break above before I get, I think, a little bit more confident. I need to see Tesla get back above 262. If it does, I think this will be a nice move back higher, possibly back into the 265 and then maybe back towards that 270. But I need to see that 262 reclaim here today. You can see this nice little gap up on Tesla this morning, but a big failure at 262, and you're starting to get a little bit of that pressure back to the downside. I would want to see either the 257.50 or the 255 spot step up on Tesla today. I would like to see us not make a new low, right? If we make a new low on Tesla under this 255 spot, could be looking for some more downside, right? This definitely could start to fail a little bit. I think the major next level under 255 looks to be, hold on one second, looks to be right here at that 250, right here. This previous high right here, this 250 spot. That would be your next major level below. And then below that, it would be your 245, 246. So there's still some pressure, it looks like, in the short term on Tesla. I am very interested to see where this pullback comes to. And I believe there will be another upside opportunity on a retracement move. The question is, how much does it have to retrace? That is something I'm still trying to, figure out. Take it slow. Make sure I'm in a position that I'm not, panicking over. Make sure I continue to sort of watch these levels on a daily basis and find where that next level is. A retracement still looks proper, right? It's up 20% in like 2 days. So a little 2% pullback's not going to scare me out of this thing. But the key thing here, right? The key thing here is to not over leverage on the downside move. If you're looking for that retracement pullback long, if that's your general idea, the key thing is to not over leverage as it pulls back. Make sure you are comfortable in these pullbacks. So 247.50, 255, those are my two next watches today. If we break under this 255, then we're going to be watching that 250 and the 246. Those are my levels below. It looks like the 262 is the level that must break. All right, we got GDP. Let's see what we got here. GDP. Not much of a move yet. GDP 830. GDP 2.8 versus 3. Okay, so GDP slightly lower. Price index in line. All right, so not much movement there quite yet. S&P testing that 70. SPY going to trade probably maybe back down to that 581 before finding much, I'd assume. 2.8 versus 3. PCE, core PCE 2.2 versus 2.1. And not much movement. Not much movement. Maybe a lot more weight getting put onto, the Meta and the Microsoft earnings tonight. That's really where the big weight is, in my opinion. The Meta Microsoft earnings tonight's really the big weight for right now. But for now, GDP 0.2% lower. A little bit of a weakness move here, but nothing yet that makes me think anything is changing. 20,680. If we break under that, then maybe a little bit of a change on the intraday here. Okay? All right. So, let's continue. So we went over Tesla, 257.50, 255 area today. Definitely under pressure. Let's see what that thing does today. Let's go to Nvidia. So Nvidia, man, it's still a really nice consolidation on Nvidia. Actually, you know what? I want to go to the SMH. I got to go to the SMH before we go over the semis. SMH. So another big failure for the SMH. This is slightly concerning to me. I really think you need the semis to be a part of this move to get like the full, hey, we're going, right? It's time. I still think you need the semis to be a part of that. For now, we're not getting the semi participation. You can see here, 256, 256, 256, 256. You had a nice push above it yesterday, but the AMD earnings sort of broke that down, right? So you had a nice 256 hold. You had a nice squeeze above it. Really nice there on the SMH yesterday. But the AMD earnings is what's breaking this back down. So another, I think, pretty clean failure of that SMH 256. And if we do not get this semi-participation in this move higher, slightly concerning to me. It really is. That's definitely something I am keeping a very close eye on. These lows at 247, these highs at 256. Still very much a channel trade, so anything can happen in here, right? You can get this, and then you can eventually get the move. You can get all the way back down, all the way back up. You can get another pop and fail, right? So this channel is getting a little bit tricky. But for now, I think the key takeaway is that you cannot get above or hold above that 256. On NVIDIA, I will say the sideways consolidation pretty much at all-time highs is still very nice to me. You see these very clear highs and these very clear lows. I still think NVIDIA is a nice consolidation here. Nothing is breaking. Nothing is failing. Just an overall seems tired, right? A tired SMH. That's probably the word I would say. Just sort of tired for now. Really not participating in any type of movement on the intraday, and just sort of sideways on NVIDIA. So not much I really like on NVIDIA in terms of short-term trades. If you like NVIDIA to just, consolidate for eventually another move higher, if you're going to trade that, you better know your game plan, right? You can't say, hey, I like NVIDIA consolidation and take next week contracts. That is just totally ass backwards, right? So if you like NVIDIA consolidation, you can't be trading the 1104 expiration. That's an O. That's not a 1. If you like NVIDIA consolidation for another leg higher, you probably want to jump into those like December monthlies, or maybe even Januaries. I don't think you want to get involved in the short term on NVIDIA right now. It's too much of a channel trade. It's going to, show you some signs of life, and then it's going to fail. It's just going to go pretty much nowhere. At least that's my read for now. that's until we get some kind of a spark on this semiconductor sector. Until that happens, man, I would stay away from those short terms on NVIDIA. It just sort of looks pinned in a way, right? Just sort of looks pinned here. Nice move, right? Beautiful upside. Still a very strong name, but for now, you're in that pinned action, right? You go through these periods in the stock market, right? You get pinned, right? Look how long NVIDIA was pinned for. Almost 2 weeks, pinned sideways. Eventually, you get your pop, you get a little bit of volatility back down, you get your nice move to the upside, right? But you get back into that pinned action. So you got to be aware that when NVIDIA gets into these pinned states, you can't be trading the short-term stuff, right? You're just going to sort of get chopped out of it. So be aware of that. TSM, man, I'm still very interested in this trade. I know it's just making you wait. It's making you wait. At least for me, I still believe that it's making you wait here. I still really like the retest of 194. That's the previous all-time high. I like how the 20 SMA is catching up to price action. The possibility of a gap fill is still there, right? This 190 gap fill is still very possible, and maybe that's where it needs to come down to. But the 194, the 190 zone, and this 20 SMA, this whole zone down here, I really do believe is a launch padding move. If the semis can wake up, right? That's the key, which I don't know for sure. It's enough for me to stay in some November monthlies, right? I still got about 2 weeks of time on this trade, which maybe I need to roll out to more room, to more time. But man, am I still interested in TSM, squeezing above all-time highs, slowly retracing to it, right? Retracing back to the 20 and that 193, 194, and then maybe creating that next move. We shall see, my friends, but I'm going to stay confident. I can't flip-flop as long as my game plan is valid, right? If my game plan is still valid, I need to stay patient. The last thing I want to do is flip-flop here, get scared out of this move, and then the second I get out of it or the week I get out of it, this thing goes, and that would just be unfortunate, right? That would be unfortunate. So, QQQ, the market got a pop because of this, guys. 500 on the Qs, guys. It's all based on this level, okay? This 500 Qs, you can see it's just really that's the level, guys, right here. 500. Got to watch that today. Big spot. Okay? So, we went over NVIDIA, TSM. Got to see if that 194 holds true today. ARM had a big day yesterday, and man, am I sort of upset I did not. You guys ever have like those thoughts in your mind and you just sort of keep them to yourselves, but you don't really, you don't really say it? I mean, obviously for me that happens a lot because I'm talking here publicly on a daily basis, but there's definitely those trades out there that I just sort of think, wonder about that. But I don't really say it because I sort of talk myself out of it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty stupid. ARM was one of those. ARM was, when I saw ARM going straight down on that, that news, I was like, man, this would probably be a very, very, aggressive, but a very contrarian long at that 135. I just never really acted upon it. I sort of just let it be, and now you regret it, right? And so those are the ones, man, and that's why I tell you guys, you got to act upon some intuition at times, because I'd rather lose on that idea than watch it play out. And so ARM is a great example of that. I was very interested in that pullback to around this 135. It never quite got to it, so maybe that's why I never really found an entry. But man, look at that double bottom low. Look at the triple bottom low, and look at the pushback higher. ARM had a day yesterday. I would absolutely be watching ARM today at this 150. If you can get a pullback at 150, that could be very interesting. I would just be careful at the 158, okay? AMD, I don't even know if I want to go over AMD, to be quite honest, because it's such a piece of shit. But I will say there is an interesting spot on AMD, and I'm not going to sell my shares because of one earnings, guys. AMD went down. Pretty much it gave back like a few days of upside. I mean, that's pretty much it, right? AMD gave back Thursdays, Friday, and Monday's upside, and a little bit of yesterday's upside. That's what it gave up. So AMD is not down an astronomical amount. It still feels like a piece of shit. I would agree. It doesn't have the same juice as some other names out there. But there's still an interest to stay, in some shares on this thing for me. So 148, 149, right? You can see right here, still a very big level. Am I going to be trading AMD? No, I'm not. It's not going to happen today. So let's continue. Ellie, appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the stream. Broadcom. Let's take a quick peek at Broadcom because there is actually an interesting setup on Broadcom today. I wanted to point this out. A little bit of news yesterday on Broadcom. Broadcom, TSM had some news together. But you can see right here, guys. See these previous lows? Look at these lows right here. This is very interesting. Look at this. Double bottom. High. Look at this right here. So if Broadcom can now create a new low above 177, right? If we can get a new low above 177, this would be very, very interesting, right? That would be a very interesting move. Watch this 177 on Broadcom. Look for that potential hold. If it comes in, you can possibly look for that long, but you do need to be aware of 180. I would look for a hold over 180 to then really trust this thing, okay? All right, let's get into some of the tech names that are really moving. Google, number one. Google, this was a overnight trade for me. I did trade Google through earnings. You guys probably saw my tweet about that. If not, go follow me on X. I obviously held AMD too. I held about 7,000 on Google and about 4,000 on AMD. I can pull that up real quick. 1 second. So I'm going to lose on AMD, obviously. That's gone. That is money gone. But it looks like that Google move might offset that and then some, which is great. The reason I traded Google, and I'll show you guys real quick, it really was based off of technicals. And I know that's not typically how you'd want to trade something through earnings, but here's what I held through. I had these Google calls. I had 10 Googles worth about 7,500. This is AMD, so this is gone money. Bam, see you later. And then, Google should offset that. That's what I held through. Now, my rationale behind this trade is right here. So I talked to the group yesterday, telling them about how I want to take a little bit of risk through Google earnings because of the inverse head and shoulder. I said my thought process here is Google does play out this inverse head and shoulder. If Google plays out this inverse head and shoulder, I am going to need to be in it before earnings, right? That was my opinion. If you were going to get this inverse head and shoulder to play out, it was going to happen on earnings. It wasn't going to happen after earnings. It was either going to happen on earnings or it was going to fail on earnings. So if I wanted to be a part of it, then I had to put some risk on. Whether that was with shares or options, however you want to play it, the idea was I wanted to be a part of the inverse head and shoulder potentially playing out, and I knew that they were not going to wait for us. If Google had good earnings, that inverse head and shoulder was going to play out, and that is exactly what happened. Do I think that is going to happen, consistently in the future? No, right? No, I don't think this is not how I typically would trade, right? I wouldn't trade a technical formation through earnings most of the time. But, man, I just did not want to see this play out without being a part of it. It was simple as that. At some point, guys, you accept risk, right? And I know, there's all the stupid, that's stupid, whatever. At some point in your trading, you just accept the risk, right? And I'm okay losing the money that I had in the play. So I said to myself, put in an amount that you're not going to worry about. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and be upset if it doesn't work out. You got to have full expectations of this money being gone. But I know that if this inverse head and shoulder plays out, it's not going to wait for me. It's going to play out on earnings. And that is pretty much exactly what happened. So really nice. We've been tracking this inverse head and shoulder for a long time. I think I made a Twitter post about this like a month ago. And I'm very happy that I am a part of it. Thank God I took that risk, because if I saw this play out and I was too scared to risk some money that I would typically not worry about, then that's just, I just think it's just being scared, really. So, really nice move, really big push. Today, you got to hold over 180. Over 180 gets you to this 185, 186. Over that gets you into the 190s. And this thing could start to rock and roll. So today, all eyes on 180. This is a must hold. If you can hold above that, I think you will see the 186, possibly higher into the 190. I will personally not sell my contracts if we're above 180, right? If we're above 180, I'm not selling. I'm holding, right? That's what I'm going to do today. So as long as we're over 180, I'm keeping this contract in my portfolio. They have a November monthly 170 call. So these will be about $12 in the money, which is great. Yeah, beautiful. Watch 180, watch 175 on pullbacks, watch 170 on pullbacks. 180, 185, 186 is your next supply above. Amazon, Jesus. You guys know we were long Amazon a few weeks back, but we just sort of got stuck in the chop, unfortunately. But Amazon, some very key watches today. Number one, I like the rejection possibility of around 195. This is a big, big, big previous high right here. So watch 195 today, guys. The pullback long that you'd love to see, you would just absolutely adore it, would be a 190, 150 pullback. If you can get 190, 150 pullbacks today on Amazon, man, would that be something I attack. So I would love to see that. I don't know if we will, but I would love to see if that can come in. If you do get that 195 rejection, watch for that trade back down to 190, 150, and that would be a big watch for me. If you get a hold over 195, this thing could continue to rally. So 195, 190, 150, I would love that pullback today. Microsoft, what a move. This is another one that we were in, but sort of got stuck in some chop. So unfortunately, some really nice ideas over the last few weeks, but got stuck in this chop on Microsoft. Should have stayed a little bit more confident. I regret that. I fully regret that. Should have stayed a little bit more confident in my idea. But, you know, I was risk managing and I had to do what I had to do. So I can't look back now. Let's just focus on what we could do better. 442. 442 is big here. That's the exact level that's rejecting. What would you love to see today? You'd love to see a pullback to 433. If you can get a pullback to this 433, that would be special. Right here, pullback to 433. This would be sick. The only problem is, guys, Microsoft reports earnings tonight, so not sure it's something that you're looking for before the earnings event. 442 is huge supply. 443 would be a huge pullback long opportunity. If you get over 442 today, you're going straight to this 447. And if you get over that, I mean, it's sort of just the alfalfa all-time high area up there. So 447, 442, pullbacks at 433 would be sick. For the beast, this hurts. This hurts just a little bit. Look at how beautiful that 4-hour was. Bam. We talked about that 4-hour. Meta, something I did miss again. 560, very, very nice. Beautiful long off that level. And we sort of had that 570, that 585 spot. If we go back to yesterday, look at how beautiful the squeeze was over that 585. So right here, 585, really nice. 585, 585, beautiful move above 585, huge squeeze above. There's a few levels you'd like to pull back today, but again, guys, the IV is so high and the options are so expensive. So I really just, wow, wow, huge expected. I mean, percentage-wise, it's not that big. It's like 8%, but man, $40 expected move on Meta. These contracts are juiced, right? Even the today expiration or the Friday expirations are $17 a contract. IV is 116%. So juiced contracts. So very, very much, I can't talk. Be careful, please, if you're trading Meta contracts. 600 pullbacks, 596 pullbacks, and 585 pullbacks. If Meta goes down on earnings today, I'm buying shares. I'm mindlessly buying shares. If Meta goes down on earnings today, I'm buying shares. That's it, right? That's it. That's my game plan. So let's see what happens. 600 pullbacks, 596 pullbacks, and if you get back to 585, which I doubt, but if you do, that would be absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful if you get that. Apple, sort of stuck, but I'm still watching this Apple at this 223.50. Let me go ahead and show you guys this Apple move. Right here, this 223.50 gap fill area still holding. Apple's stuck under the 235. For now, a consolidation, which I think is fine. It's sort of a higher low consolidation. So I still like the holds over 231. I still like this 232.50. The problem is the 235, but for now, it just looks like a consolidation. This is probably not going to move until the earnings tonight. on Meta, on Microsoft, and some more tech clarity. CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, man. It's still there, right? You guys know we've been a big proponent of CrowdStrike, and sort of that comeback move. It's still there, right? Take a look at this thing. Look at this daily chart. That is very interesting. Look at this daily chart here. That is intriguing stuff, right? You got that beautiful, whoops, let me get this proper here. You got that beautiful uptrend there. You got that break and retest setting up like right here, right? Little break and retest, break and retest. Look at how clean this chart is. Bam, 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 right? Is this bam right here? Question mark? That is very interesting. Very interesting. So, CrowdStrike, daily chart, 20 SMA, break and retest, uptrend holding. This could be a fantastic entry point here for that next leg higher. I am very much watching this today. CrowdStrike, some levels that I'll be looking at today. I would like a little gap fill down to like 310 here. 310, 311 would be great to find that entry. If you get under that, 307, 200 SMA here supporting price action, I'm definitely intrigued. We'll be watching CrowdStrike very closely today. Netflix, watch maybe that 750, 736. Coinbase, back under that 218. Watch for that 210 pullback. MicroStrategy earnings tonight, so I'm not a big fan, but 245, maybe 227. I think that's about it. ES at key level. NASDAQ still sitting above that 680. Lululemon, our Lululemon idea still working nicely, right? That upside over that 280 still working nicely there. How's our HIMS doing? HIMS not bad. ASTS doing all right. Consolidating above that 23 level still. Uber sort of doing that retest we talked about a few days back. 78.50, definitely an interesting spot there. Goldman Sachs retest long on the daily chart, still sort of interesting. Look at that at that 515. That's an interesting retest long there. I think that's about it, guys. Kava is just crazy. I mean, this thing's like a systematic upside move. That's it. All right. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to trade live with me on a daily basis, the link is down below. You can check it out. We trade live. We talk about trade ideas. We collaborate together. Some new interesting stuff coming out here soon, so I think I'll be able to talk about that maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. So make sure to come in the live stream. Some cool things for the live stream. It's some interaction. I think you guys will like it. So press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Subscriber giveaway. Hey, how we doing on the giveaway? You guys subscribing? You getting people to subscribe? There's a giveaway going on. How many we at? 89,300. So we got about $226 in the giveaway. It's moving up. We got to keep going, though. Keep pressing that like button. Keep subscribing. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.